Now, joining me next up is no Gen Zer. Instead, it's the great U.S. Trade Representative, my friend Jamieson Greer, who was doing such a good job. I'm sorry, Jamieson, I had to do the riff before I got to you, but you're not really part of the riff. In fact, you know what? Before we get into some of the details of your new deals, and congratulations on those deals, I just want to step back for 1 minute because, you know, we heard all year that we were going to have a worldwide trade war with retaliation left and right that was going to destroy the economy, run the inflation rate up to 15 or 20%, and unemployment and so forth and so on. So here we are coming into Thanksgiving, all right? Year's not quite over. You guys are still working. But the fact of the matter is, instead of retaliation and war, I'm seeing deals and much more trade peace than trade war. So let's just step back. Give us your point of view on this. Everybody seems to have been completely wrong.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Larry. I mean, at the beginning of the administration, we put out an America First trade policy. First time any president had done something like that. And we said exactly what we were going to do. We said we were going to reorder global trade. We were going to use tariffs to do it. We were going to use the tariffs to protect domestic industry. We're going to use it as leverage for deals. And that's exactly what we've done. And the people said, the critics, they said, you won't be able to impose the tariffs. Everyone will retaliate against you. No one will negotiate, and the deals will be faked. And all of that's been proven wrong. We did the tariffs, we've had the negotiations, we have the deals, and they're real, they're substantive. They give us new market access that we've been trying to get overseas for over 25 years. We have essentially been able to impose a new negotiating round on the world and make up for 30 years of lost time in getting market access. And at the same time, the president is keeping enough tariffs to keep the trade deficit under control. It's a real it's a real flipping of the script on everything.
Well, that's what it is, a flipping of the script. I like that idea. I like that thought. Here's Mr. Trump and yourself and Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick and so forth and so on. You guys, you got a carrot, you got a stick, and you're using both, okay? And I think that's the way it has to work. Reciprocal trade reform. And barriers are coming down. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamieson, but barriers are coming down. Okay, the effective tariff rates, they're not going at 40, 50, or 60%. They're running around 15-ish%, give or take somewhat. It's not a bad number at all. But you're, incentivizing onshore production factories, and at the same time, you're making some money on it. You're making some revenues on it that we might use to lower the, heaven forbid, federal budget deficit. What about that part?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, as you know, and we've talked about a lot, and our mutual friend Bob Lighthizer has talked about a lot, the country has a long history of using tariffs in a very pragmatic way. It's not a question of super liberal free trade versus protectionism. It's about pragmatism. There are certain areas where you have to have a tariff. And there are all kinds of healthy outcomes from that. Again, protecting our domestic producers. There's an incidental revenue effect that's helpful for paying down the debt. And then it can be used, as I've said, for leverage. And you're exactly right. I mean, the types of barriers that we're bringing down, like it's not, they don't lend themselves to amazing sound bites, but it's things like getting rid of import licenses overseas, getting rid of duplicative certifications, getting rid of fake science regulations that keep out our meat and our row crops. I mean, taking care of all these really nefarious non-tariff barriers makes a big difference for our exporters.
Yeah, this is long overdue. And I'm just saying, here we come toward the end of the first year, and look how the so-called experts have been completely wrong, okay? And that you and the administration has proven them wrong. Now, I was quite interested, Jamieson, the Switzerland deal, and the pharmaceutical companies, okay? So are they going to start investing here in the U.S.? It's terribly important. We never want to be dependent on foreign pharmaceuticals. Most of that, people think about China, and China pharmaceutical problem is a big problem. But of course, a lot of farmers in Switzerland have been taking advantage of us too. So how does that get changed here in this latest deal?
Right, so that's actually a key element of this deal, because we have a disproportionately large trade deficit with Switzerland. Part of that is gold, part of that is pharmaceuticals, et cetera. And so what the Swiss have done, they've come in and they've really thought hard about this, and they said, listen, we understand the president wants to get the deficit down, and we understand he wants to reshore pharmaceutical production in the United States. And so they have gotten together with their private sector to prepare $200 billion worth of investment over the president's term. A lot of that in pharmaceuticals, some of it in aircraft parts, some in railway equipment that they're investing here. We've already had Roche, in connection with this deal, break ground as a goodwill gesture. They've already broken ground on a new facility in the United States, and there are several more to come.
You may have said this, but is there an investment number that's being used to buy down their tariffs?
Well, I mean, what they're doing, they're actually offering market access. They had relatively low tariffs already, but they're offering all industrial imports to the United States at 0%, and they're giving a lot of market access in key agricultural exports from the United States. Things like poultry that are, as you know, are really hard to get into Europe. They've agreed to accept American poultry, pork, bison. It's a big deal. All kinds of specialty crops. So they're agreeing to these things, and then on top of that, they are doing this $200 billion investment program.
Ah, right. Okay. Jamieson, let's move to Latin America. You got some deals cooking. Ecuador, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Argentina. You know, one thought I have here, too, stepping back for a minute from the specifics, it's so important that we stop communism in Latin and South America. You know, this is an area where, I mean, China, for example, up to their eyeballs, Russia, Havana, Cuba, and so forth, making tremendous inroads. And that includes Argentina. People may forget that. They may have a new reformer, but the fact is China's all over the place. This is where foreign policy intersects with trade policy. And this is what I hope the Supreme Court is going to take into account.
Yeah, the countries you just noted, these four Western Hemisphere countries, these are friendly governments in all of them. They really value their relationship with the United States, and these are countries that should be in our orbit and part of our supply chains, and not just them, right? We have other Western Hem countries where we're very close to deals. You know, we moved more quickly with these four, but I think it shows, one, you know, America's backyard is really important. You know, two, we value our relationships with these governments, and three, there is a landing zone where, again, we can have some tariff on these countries to get our trade deficit under control and protect domestic production, but we can also facilitate the kind of trade that's mutually beneficial for us both.
All right, so if I have a cup of coffee in the morning, actually I don't really have coffee in the morning, but perhaps you do. Many of my friends have a cup of coffee in the morning, and maybe a banana along with it. You're going to make it a little easier and bring down the trade barriers, or so it's said. One question I want to ask you on the beef, are you able to sort out the Argentine beef controversy?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, listen, the beef situation in the United States is one where it's cyclical. And right now, the U.S. herd is quite small because of the cycle. We also had an issue in Mexico with the New World screwworm, where it means we have to limit a lot of some of the product coming in from Mexico, or live cattle, rather. So because of that, there are all kinds of countervailing things. So what we want to happen with the beef market in the U.S. is we want the market to work itself out. We want the supply to meet the demand. You know, we're protecting our U.S. beef producers. We're having an investigation of the packers for concentration, see if there are pricing issues there. We're also opening up grazing lands, and we're trying to do deregulation as well for small packers and small ranchers. You know, there are tariffs that Congress set on beef, on foreign beef. If it's out of quota, it's 25%. That's something that Congress has said a long time ago, and that's there. You know, we don't have, you know, we won't have reciprocal tariffs on beef, but we have that 25% tariff that they've relied on for a long time. That's there, that's solid. And we have these other investigations going on to protect U.S. beef producers and those, you know, make sure they can get a return on their investment, and the American consumer can have a good price at the market.
Terrific stuff. Really, I mean, just outstanding stuff. Proving most of the world wrong, helping the U.S. in all of these great places. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. Thank you, Jamieson. We appreciate it very much. Good luck.
Thanks, Larry.
You bet.